Good afternoon, welcome everyone, welcome to DevChatter. Hello, greetings, my name is Brendan. This channel here is obviously DevChatter, as, you know, I kind of said that, and it says it over in the title and, like, in the URL and everything like that, so you probably figured that out. What you also may have figured out, right down there, is that my name is Brendan. I am the host of DevChatter here on Twitch. And started the stream off right with a with a nice 3-month resub from Strife. So Strife, thank you very much for the 3-month resub. Yes, some DevCha love there in chat. So as I was saying, I'm the host of the live stream, but we are actually a fairly open and friendly community of developers here on DevChatter. So feel free to ask questions, anything like that. If you're confused by any code that you see on the stream, or if you're just wondering about something or want to talk about a topic related to programming or technology, feel free to bring it up in chat. Does not mean that we will necessarily answer it, but the community is pretty open and is open to discussing things. Sometimes there's just no one here that knows about your topic, or it's too in-depth to really get into in a stream. But if you do bring it up, we'll probably make suggestions like chatting with people about it over on Discord. I didn't start the bot! Hang on while I start the bot. So that Discord link actually shows up. Didn't even open the program. I don't know why I didn't. Why is Stack Trace Explorer popping up over here? That's so weird. It keeps doing that. Anyway, so as I was saying, here on the stream, we like to write code and talk about technology, things like that. So we've had a lot of interesting discussions over the years of this stream. We're coming up on our 2-year anniversary of the stream here soon. We've talked about all kinds of things, career-related stuff, interviewing stuff, just all kinds of programming things, information about jobs, other stuff like that. So feel free to bring up whatever it is you're interested in. Obviously, as anybody that's been here to the stream knows, the first 2 minutes I usually try to just chit-chat about stuff as I wait for people to get here, because there are going to be a lot of people streaming in, and so that I don't have to repeat what it is we're working on multiple times. Well, I'll probably have to say it multiple times, but not too many times. I will be mentioning what our project is here in a second, as I'm betting a lot of people have just made it into the stream. Professional streamer. Sure, Strife, yeah. Professional streamer, sure. For whatever that means. I have been streaming for, well, nearing 2 years. We've done hundreds and hundreds of hours of streaming. We've got to be coming up to, we got to be coming close to 1,000 hours of streaming, just based on where I know we were like 6 months ago. Though my amount of streams has definitely reduced recently, just because my work schedule has me unable to do as much streaming as I used to and want to still be able to do, but don't have the time for. Alright, so links I wanted to toss in there. First off, if you haven't joined our Discord, you really should check it out. I tossed a link to that over there. That is a place where if you do want to have a more in-depth discussion, one that we wouldn't be able to do here on the stream, that's the place to do it. Additionally, most of the code we do here on stream is actually open source and available out on GitHub, so feel free to check that out as well. You can find links over there in the chat, and links, as always, are below the stream. And if you're watching this in recording, say here in the video section on Twitch or over on our YouTube channel, you will find links to pretty much everything I talk about on stream is going to be linked down below, so you don't have to catch it in chat. You don't have to try to read it off the screen. There will be links down below to all that stuff, so just feel free to scroll down and grab those. If you're on a mobile device, you might have to like click a button to get to info. I might vary based on which device you're on, but either way, let's dive right into the program we are working on. So I want to talk about a couple of things related to it. So first off, we are working on this little piece right here. And yes, I mean both the text as well as the background colors that are displayed behind that text. We are going to be taking a look at something. Today we're going to do a little bit different thing. We're going to be doing a little bit of, what's a good word, investigation into an issue. So I'm going to ask chat. You don't have to answer because I know a lot of people like to just lurk in chat and not say anything. But if you are someone that works professionally as a software developer, what I'm wondering is, how frequently do your projects that you work on professionally include logging? And I'm not kidding. I mean, I know a lot of people out there that don't put logging into their programs when they write them. I try to put logging into all of them. And one of the reasons why is, well, when this program's going to be running somewhere, especially if it's going to be a user that's not me, they're not running in Visual Studio, they don't have debug mode enabled, you can't always find out what goes wrong when there's an error. Or even if just you handled an exception and made sure that it was handled in a nice way so the user didn't really see it, and maybe you even did something to respond to it, it's nice to know the exception occurred. Welcome, developers, coming in from C# Fritz's stream. Greetings. I actually already see a whole bunch of names that I recognize there in that chat list, and welcome. We're actually just getting started here. We just started up a few minutes ago, and I was just giving a quick intro on what it is we're working on. So, I am going to show all of you that, since you're all rating in. So, welcome everybody, welcome C# Fritz. We're doing a Sunday stream, which is non-standard for DevChatter, but I'm going to show you all what we're working on because it's cool. Greetings, welcome everyone. Welcome to the stream, fellow developers. This is actually a game called Final Fantasy VII. It came out a little over 20 years ago. And welcome everybody, thank you for those follows, much appreciated. This is an interesting one because I want to show you what we built. So this is a game, it's run through Steam, and the game, as you'll notice, actually gives... Yeah, I know, right? It seems like it was a recent game, but no, it is over 20 years old now. I have actually been working on a program here on the stream that gives chat full control over the colors of that menu. So have a look at what we just typed in chat, or take a look at this description right here, and give it a try, everybody. Because it is a really cool effect that we're doing here. And you'll notice that my stream is actually including a piece of menu there as well. So thank you, Surly Dev. Yeah, just like that. Chat actually has control. Yeah, so you can do like just a solid color, a single color, or you can specify it's 4 colors if you want to make that work. And thank you for those follows, everyone. Surly. Surly did the dreaded lime, which I shouldn't even mention is as bad as I say it is. No, Surly, there's no hot dog stand. But yes, you can do pink, and yeah. So chat actually has full control over that. The funny thing is, a lot of people probably assume that. Oh, sorry, jumping back in there so you get control again. A lot of people assume that all we did was this menu color stuff, but we actually did something way more crazy than that. So, sorry, here. You want fuchsia? You gotta spell it right. There's fuchsia. Which doesn't look great, I'm just gonna say. Okay, so this is the default color in the game. So we didn't just give menu color control, we did something crazier. And this is actually all written as a WPF app, written in .NET Core. We actually just did something cool with it, which... It is published now in a packaged up like single file executable, which is really, really neat. So if you haven't given that a try, you should. Fuchsia and lime combined, like, that's pretty bright, but it actually doesn't look that bad, to be honest. Okay, I am going to do something crazy, and I am going to help all of you out for a second. I am going to drop the costs of all status effects in the game down to 0. Except for the ones that cause instant death. Death sentence basically does. And the reason I'm going to do this is so that you can all try out something absolutely ridiculous. Hopefully I didn't leave any instant death ones on. Okay, so this is actually a WPF application. We are at this point, if there's anyone in chat that knows how to use the status effect commands, I would love for you to demonstrate those. If not, I will queue them up on my own, on my Stream Deck. Oh, good, Strife is here. Strife! I turned all the status effect costs down. Do you think you could demonstrate to everyone how those work? Keep in mind that the ones that just insta-kill me are turned off. But when we get in combat, please do throw some of those. Yeah, thank you. So, we're just starting up this combat. This is turn-based combat inside this game, and I just start playing. And if you watch over here in the chat, something that Strife just did is he just put confusion on all of my characters, so they are now spinning around in circles and attacking each other. And until they get attacked and then they come out of it. But he has put the confused status on them. He has applied darkness to the character on the top, so you'll notice that there's that black glow on him. He has berserked the character on the bottom, so that character is now just going to attack non-stop. The character in the middle now has a silence status effect applied. And, oh, I don't, apparently I didn't turn regen off. So, the idea here is that, chat can just kind of do whatever they want and, mess with me. Now, where was regen? Did I not set that down to 0? Regen. Oh, I didn't get these ones. So, poison, reflect, regen. I apparently skipped a whole row. Okay. So we'll lower those costs, and I don't actually have to do anything those because it's just binding in WPF. Those will automatically update based on that. You know what? Oh, I don't want to do this combat. So part of the reason why I don't want to do this combat is this game was made back in the 90s. They were not as careful about some things, so there are like 3 points in this game with flashing lights that, you know, flashing lights are not all that great to do when you're doing this stuff. Oh, there's no combat here either because you come up this way. Yeah, I'm gonna really, alright, we're gonna do the flashing lights. We're gonna show everybody what's going on with this. Sorry, Strife, the weapon costs are not all turned down right now. You know what? Here, I'll temporarily do this. There you go, Strife. Costs are now 0 for you. I have temporarily given you a sword so that you can show everybody all the stuff, since I know that you know how to do this. Okay, so we're gonna hop in this elevator. If flashing lights, cause any kind of problems for you, now is a good time to close your eyes, and I will let you know when to open them back up. Because they are gonna be like the screen's gonna be flashing here for a second. So character dialogue, I'm just gonna skip past. And then, I don't know if that would get anybody, but there's some much worse stuff later in the game. And the flashing lights should be done now, so, okay. So, something that just happened. If you take a look at what Strife actually did there, he changed the weapon of our character. So if you look at the character in the back there with the blonde hair, the one in the far row, look at that weapon he's holding. That is not the weapon he had in the last combat, and the reason why is that Strife actually used the weapon command. So he said weapon cloud 7, and he set our weapon to be the Force Stealer. And he apparently is going to Frog Cloud, which, because there was another animation going on at the time, you didn't visually see Cloud change into a frog, though I think he'll change once he gets hit once. Let me try punching him, see if he... Yeah, there we go. Okay, so because there was an animation going, it didn't update the picture of him, but he did have the status on it. And then Barrett just shrank down to that tiny little size there. So we've actually given chat full control over, like, the statuses of the characters, and they can kind of just mess with you the whole time. So, and now he's trying to paralyze... Oh, paralyze is disabled. I could have allowed that one, because it can't cause a game over, but apparently I've got it off. Either way, I'm not going to win this battle now because stop is definitely turned off, because stop will end the battle. Will insta-kill us. Actually, that's a good point. If I want a game over, then I need to allow that. So hang on one second. I I want to be able to get a game over. Alright, go ahead and petrify all of them if you don't mind. Oh, actually, I can do that. I have that. Oh. All the enemies are dead, but I got a game over? What happens? Oh, game overs. That's funny. Okay. So this is actually what we're building, but let's go ahead and hop into the code and track some things down. So I figured since we had a bunch of new people here, like, let's walk through and show everybody what it is we're actually building. I want to be able to get into more battles easily, so we'll go here. Okay. So, I showed you all that there's actually this menu that is next to me, and you can see that. Cool. Menu. That's not all that we have, though, because there is also a stream overlay. So anyone that's seen any kind of like stream development stuff where a developer is building like stream tools and things like that, we build overlays. And the way that these work, so like this here, or if you see the chat box on the far corner from me over there, those are actually always built as essentially a web page that is being displayed over top of other elements on the stream. Now, if you look above me, this is actually, I mean, that's obviously just a browser window, right? That's just Chrome right there. But inside of that, obviously, we are loading a web page. Now, that web page is designed to be an overlay that you'd put on your stream, kind of like this one is, or anything else that's on my stream is. And that overlay is for someone that is playing Final Fantasy VII and using our stream tools. If you watch, you'll notice it says that Cloud has a nail bat. If I go and look in the game, and I have a look, you'll see right now that not only are my party members the ones that stream says, that piece says, but if I have a look at the equipment for this character, you'll see that he has a nail bat and a bronze bangle, exactly as it says over there. So these two rows. You'll notice the colors are always matching on the menu, so when you're actually running this, like, they get all this stuff all matching the whole time you're playing. But that is actually like a party status display. And there is actually another developer that we're working with that built most of that. We've now made some more recent changes to it, and we have brought it into our system. So we did all this chat interaction stuff, and he made this that just is constant status display update. So it's essentially just talking to the game all the time and just saying like, hey, what's current state of everything, and just grabbing that and doing this display based on this. We modified it a little bit, and we kind of said, hey, you know what, why don't we just tell it every time colors change, and it can ask the game for the colors, but realistically, why don't we just have it talk through ours? Because if you're running it, you're running ours anyway, so it works. Cloud's name is now Name. Very nice. Good job, Strife. So also notice that the character name here, who was originally called Cloud, is now named Strife. And you can also rename Barrett. Go ahead and rename Barrett if you don't mind there, Strife, just so people can see what that is that you're doing. Yeah, close enough. So the idea being that not only do we have chat interactivity and the ability to make a lot of changes based on what chat wants to do, but we can also pull all the information and display based on that. So really, really cool stuff. Okay, so what are we digging into today? I mentioned to everyone at the beginning of this stream, I asked a question. I asked everyone, do you actually maintain logs for all of your applications? And for me, I like to maintain logs of some kind of logging in my application in case something goes wrong, especially if it is not running on my computer. Obviously, when I am running stuff and testing it here while I'm developing, I'm going to be running in debug mode so that I can jump into the exact point where the issue happened the moment it happens and see what all the values are and potentially look around. However, when this is running on someone else's computer, I don't have that information, and so I need logging. And I know a lot of people skip logging because they're like, oh yeah, it's not that important, but logging is super easy to put in. I believe we put the logging in on stream, so you can go check out the archives of this over on our YouTube channel, and you can find where we added in the logging. Something I want to mention about that I'm going to toss a link to our YouTube and chat there in case someone wants to do it. There's links down below as well, though. We have playlists over there, so you can actually look up, this is called Interactive 7. You can look at the Interactive 7 playlist, and you can find the one where we added logging, and you'll find where that is. So, logging. I said that we had some logging stuff. This is the error that we logged when that we logged. So Strife, who's over there in chat, is actually one of our we'll call him one of our beta testers for this program. He runs it on his stream while he plays Final Fantasy VII over there, and he got us some nice data. So this is an error that I want to take a look at, and we're going to dig in and see if we can't find that. Yes, Plutonin, yeah, console write line. That's how you log. So we're actually set up to use a logging system called Seralog. If you, I have no idea if that's actually how it's pronounced, but that's how I say it. So you will find that we called the... actually, is that gonna... Oh, that is gonna open up the Seralog extensions, like, source code. And then we called this in... right here. Okay. So inside of our application, we actually set it up to just do basic logging. We said log everything information and write it out to a logs file, make it use a rolling interval by day. So every day someone runs it, we have a fresh log file each time. If their log file ever exceeds a certain size, it is actually going to spawn off a new log file. So no individual file gets really, really huge. It's just really basic logging, and all we had to do pretty much is just do this, create a provider, and in here we're actually just going to wire it up to our IOC, and we just tell our IOC container, hey, when you try to do logging, you know, like, use this. So that's literally all we did, was just wire up our logger and start using it. So really not that difficult. It's actually even easier if you're doing it in an ASP.NET Core application. For us, we're only kind of a web application. So I showed you at the beginning of the stream that we're in this WPF.NET Core app, but we actually spin up another thing. This is the WPF app that is actually running, but when it starts, it actually spins up a hosted website inside of itself. So the WPF application starts up a website, and that's where these status overlays come from, as these are actually hosted through a web service running on that. So it's really, really cool stuff. The problem with our logs is that we have about 10 gigs per day. Yeah, Fuel Snable. So that's part of the challenges. In some applications, logs get out of control in that way. There are actually services that are designed to handle logging information, and they actually are essentially like categorizing it by different types and things like that, and like different logging levels and different categories. So if it's coming from certain parts of the system, certain modules, certain classes, things like that, it's all grouped separately, so you can actually drill into the log files based on all kinds of information, and that is one way to handle it, though again, size still becomes a problem even when you get that. That's Datadog, and yeah, exactly. So, as Fuel Snable's mentioning, when you scale up, there are other services that you can use to handle logging information better than what we're doing here. Obviously, ours being just small scale and we're going to have other people just running this. A log file is good enough for our purposes. We won't have that much data, we hope. The biggest source of our data is actually the error we're going to look into today. So this one, I don't know exactly what was going on because I haven't started looking at it. That's what we're doing today. But this error was happening constantly. So there are actually tens of thousands of instances of this error in the like 5-hour long stream that Strife did while running this program. So Strife, I mentioned, is one of our beta testers, and he was running this program for about 5 hours on his stream while playing the game. I don't remember how many hours it was. Strife would know better. I'm just guessing that it was something like 5 hours. Maybe it was shorter, maybe it was longer. Either way, he ended up with tens of thousands of log entries of this same error. This error is actually one thrown by the status overlay. So it is actually code that we did not write. So hence more why we're going to have to dig in further to figure out what is going wrong. What we did do when we brought in that status overlay, 7 hours? Okay, there you go. So the status overlay being this, one of the first things that I did when I brought that in was I tossed try catch blocks and loggers around the whole thing, so that if anything ever blew up in that, that we would at least get a log entry about it and the program would keep running. Because we don't want the status overlay to just suddenly fail while someone's in the middle of a stream. We want it to just kind of persist, because, again, they're in the middle of a stream. So I know a lot of people freak out when they're like, wait, you had an error and you didn't stop and handle it and like take care of it? It's like, no, that's not what you do. You want your in a lot of cases, you actually want the program to continue on. That's part of the reason for logging an unhandled. You didn't actually handle the exception, you logged the exception. And the reason why is if you have essentially an unhandled exception in a program that needs to keep running because there's something going on, you let it go. Like, you log it and you keep running. Because what would be really bad is if the streamer's going and then their status overlay just disappears and they're going to be like, what? Yeah. No, S&B. I'm saying we have to dig into it because we don't know what it is. So that essentially the idea is saying Mr. Shoji wrote this great stuff that does this. He actually is still helping us with some other stuff that's really, really good. But we do need to dig into what this error is, because I don't know the code well enough to be able to say, yeah, it's this that happened. So either way, let's dig in. Yeah, exactly, Strife. If it's something where I think the program is no longer going to be worthwhile running, then yeah, let it actually crash out. But in this case, I think it's just an error. All right, let's take a look. So we have searching for has located the process, and then error updating seng info. So this is going to be our message somewhere. So this should just appear in our code. So somewhere in here, it should say that text. Crimson Green, welcome. Long time no see. And yes, I will make sure that I fix all the errors. Hey, S&B, look, he's got a first. We don't see Crimson very often, but he is actually one of those first. I think S&B, I don't remember being those long files and analyzing them. So Surly Dev, there are a lot of tools out there for reading log files that I don't have a great answer for you on reading those right now. Lately, I have been tossing everything out into those services to take care of them, rather than digging into log files. But I would have to figure out what the modern equivalents are of like log file analysis tools to get you a better answer on that. Okay, yes, sir. Yes, exactly. Services. Yes, like Splunk. Ooh, people Elasticsearch them. Yeah, see, there you go. I was gonna say I haven't had to dig into those in a while, so I don't have a good answer on that one. Okay. So what do we got? Error updating seng info. So what was in this catch block? Okay, so this is the code we were running. So looks like this is the code that reads all of the data that would get saved into a save file. This is a call that checks to see whether or not we're in a battle. This grabs all the current battle data, and this grabs the memory, the menu colors. So after taking those, it puts them into model objects, and then looks like it makes a change to the window colors, and then it updates. Interesting. Log retention is always an interesting topic with said services. Yeah, so that's one of the challenges, especially with the scenario that Fuel Snable was talking about, having like gigs of log files. You run into a slight problem with that, in that some of those services don't really want you to keep that level of log files, and you also don't necessarily want to keep that much yourself. So in some instances, you need to have like rules in place for how much data you're going to keep. Because, seriously, having too much, you're not going to find it. Mr. Shoji! Hey, see, he's here. I told you. Welcome, greetings. Okay, so let's figure out what the heck is causing this error. I don't know. Oh, yeah, because GDPR is definitely going to be an issue. Error 404 not found, error 429. Okay, anyway. Let's figure it out. What is this? Null value cannot be null. Parameter source. What are we doing? We're doing a first. Read all game data. We called first inside of here. Ooh, right here. Is this the error? Is that where it's throwing? value cannot be null source. So source is the enumerable. So if this came back null, so it's saying that this is null. If I'm reading that correctly, this might just be that that's null. So here's the deal. For anyone that's wondering about this, because it is a little bit weird, I kind of want to get into this. So one thing that a lot of people might think when looking at this code is that if this value that I've highlighted here is null, that we're going to get a null reference exception. And that's actually not the case here. And the reason why is that this is not a member method of the value to its left. This is actually an extension method. And what that means is that first, in this case, that is actually a static method that takes in a value that is the left, that is the value to the left of it. And what that means is that instead of being a null reference exception, we're getting a null argument exception. So that's actually why we're getting the error that we are. I'm pretty sure this value is coming back null, and we're going to take a look and figure out why that is. Would be a great logging service that automatically increase the logging level when exceptions are encountered. But that level of detail is not recorded. Yeah, so SNB, that's actually the way a lot of logging frameworks work. So in Serolog, for example, which is the one we're using here in our project, if we log information, we just put in text. But if we log an exception, we actually put the exception object itself, and it includes all the stack trace information that it has at the time. I'm actually a little surprised it didn't include the line numbers for us. Maybe, I bet I gave him a release build instead of a debug build. I need to look at that. If I gave him a release build instead of a debug build, then I wouldn't get line numbers. I should be giving our beta testers debug builds so that we get better information in our logs when something goes wrong. I should take a look at that. So store everything in a temp log file if there are no errors, write the truncated. Yes, beta testers, or you could say beta testers if you really wanted. But yes, there are beta testers of this program right now that are actually running it for their stuff. Let's take a look. Read memory, what's it do? This is not our read memory one. This is Mr. Shoji's. We're actually probably going to switch to his because I like his a little bit better than ours. That being said, there's a couple of things about ours that I like better, and a couple of things I like better about his. So it's going to be like 80% his, 20% ours, I think, once we're done merging these together. Beta testers are a bunch of nerds, Strife. And by that I mean when you're beta testing a nerdy thing, you are by definition pretty nerdy. But we like nerds here. We are a channel of nerds, and we think that that is a good term for people that are interested in cool stuff and like learning. Okay, so when we do this, target process, so if that's 0, open it. Okay, so essentially so this is saying, excuse me. If we have not yet opened up the process, go ahead and do that, and that will set this value when it does. Then it wants us to read these, and then the results. So if it failed to read them, it returns back null. Okay, so the fact that it returns back null is the problem, just 100%, that is what's happening. And yes, exactly, but Mr. Shoji, I was planning on merging them, like, just because that's one of those, like, yeah, no, there's a handful of things, you know, like, that I like about each one, so it's like, yeah, let's just bring them together. It's better to have one than two, because people were confused before, in a previous stream when they saw both, they're like, wait a minute, why do you have two of that? And I'm like, well, because I wrote one and Seng had one when I merged my code with Mr. Shoji's code, we ended up with two of them. And you got to get around to getting rid of them. They work differently, so I can't, like, I'll have to change my code to use yours, and I'd have to change your code to use mine, so don't really want to do that. Okay, let's jump back out here. So what that means is this value, I'm going to go ahead and stop the program here for a second. I don't need a stack trace explorer. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm actually just going to make a safe from a null by doing a question mark dot operator here. If you haven't seen that, that is the null conditional operator. It was added in, I think, C# 7. And it essentially, what it does is, it is a null conditional operator, and what it does is it does an action called null propagation. So that means if the value to the left of it is null, it will propagate that null to the right. So that means instead of calling this method here, it will just continue to be null, and it will skip calling first. That means I'm now setting isBattle to null. Well, the problem is this is supposed to be a Boolean for isBattle. And see, now that I put in Boolean there, this should be more okay with it. Although, actually, no, it's not a Boolean, it's a byte. Sorry. That is a byte called isBattle. Now this one is okay, but this is unhappy. And the reason why is that I need to do this. And we need to say false as a byte, right? So the byte's just going to be 0. So we'll just say, like, I don't know, 0. Guess we can just set it to 0, and that'd be false. So yeah, I think that'll solve the problem. Now, all the rest of these were probably null when that was happening. I'm gonna drop a breakpoint here. I have a guess, and yes, Mr. Shoji is correct. You make it work, and then you can refactor it out. Now, in this case, I would say to unit test it, but I know that that's not going to work here, and the reason why is that this is not going to be easy to. So I could potentially mock this out using a mocking framework that will mock out concrete types. And we could just check and see what happens when that returns null and it throws the exception. We know it throws it. It's just a null reference exception. So realistically, at some point, we need to get an integration test that really does try to run the program without Final Fantasy VII running and just make sure that no bugs are happening. So that's really what we need to do at some point, but I'm not planning on doing that right now. Wheatlaw, greetings, welcome. Welcome to DevChatter. Long time no see. Okay, and for anyone that is new here, our normal streams are actually on Saturdays, so they would be happening about 24 hours past, so usually Saturday around this time. But today we're doing a Sunday stream because I wasn't able to do my stream yesterday. And yes, as S&B has just pointed out, that is not the only color that you have control of on the stream. You can also control these little lights by just specifying any color. There's no command to it, you just say a color, and that could actually be a hex code as well. So if you know the hex code of your favorite color, like for example, maybe you want to do red, you could just set it to red, I think. Oh, I typoed it. Ah! I meant to do that. Oh, and then someone chimed in with an orange. So there you go, Fuel Snable. Much better. Okay. But yes, you can set any color you want, and it will jump to the correct one. That's a pretty nice yellow, yeah. So, so I want to try and catch that bug happening. So Final Fantasy VII is running, but if it weren't, let's say my guess on what causes this problem is if the Interactive 7 program is running, which we're going to start here. Oh, hang on. See, Wheatlaw, you mentioned that. Now I'm going to go look up what you actually said. So I'm guessing if this is running and the game is running, we're not catching that exception. But I'm guessing if I were to close this, that we would. Yes, there it is. Haha. So we are getting null reference exceptions now as soon as I remove that. So there you go. What did you say? Did you miss your C# love? Wheatlaw, I love C#. It's great. And I am glad you're here. It's nice to have you around. You provide some fun stuff on the stream. Let's see. Perhaps it's better. Everybody else is just changing the colors. Yeah, feel free to change the colors. And those colors are more fun to change. Not certain what the max... you also get a read memory fail if you ask for too much as well. Oh, that doesn't surprise me, Mr. Shoji. But which object reference is not set to an instance of an object? Which one is it? Line 215. So right here... the save map is null, so we of course cannot assign that value to it, because this came back null because we didn't actually have a value. No? 15? Colors? Colors is null? Colors is null! Okay, that's the one we're hitting here. So, we're going to say if colors is not equal null, then you can set the colors, but you can only set them if they came back not null. Alright, let's try that again. Now, in this case, because it can't find the game, it's not going to cause the problem. I think it's only if the game disappears. Okay, so we're going to bring the game back up. So here's the game again. We're back in here, and I'll connect it to chat. So everybody that's in chat, if you want to play with menu colors again, you've got a little bit to type in the menu command. They're written on the screen right there if you want to try them. Okay, so what's going on? SMB wanted to do rainbow. Oh, thanks, Strife. Thanks. Yeah, we all wanted lime. Come on, Strife. When I lime you, I immediately follow it with something that changes it to another color. That's not friendly. Yeah, thank you. All right, there we go. Okay, so this should no longer throw an error when that happens. So this is running. Is the status updating? Let me just... Oh, it absolutely is, because that's our current party. So it figured out that that status had changed. So the neat thing is you can actually modify this now. No, there's no strobe, but we do have some other ones. I mean, you can just like throw in random a few times also, and that'll switch it around. So, and you'll notice that both the status overlay over there, the game, and our little menu are all changing colors as you do these. So, if you switch it back to the default colors, you'll see everything switches, and it all moves at the same time in that nice, slow, like that nice gradual change. I'm a huge fan of that. I think it looks nice. By the way, I think it is RGB is an emission-based, color-based system. In that if you add all three, you get... Oh, that's lovely colors there. Sorry, Wheatlall, but a mod can trigger rainbow if you want. Yeah, so there are some other... oh, nice. 2 people triggered it. So that means we actually have 2 rainbows in a row. So it's going to run twice as long. Yeah, exactly. Strife is correct. We have 2 full rainbows to get through. Luckily, that's going to go on there and not continue on the program. Also, Strife, check it out. I just want to point out that that I just killed the program. And, oh, look! We got another null error, so that's actually perfect. Stack trace. Let's have a look. Which one's null? Save map line 99. So there's another null reference exception that we're hitting, which is this one. It's not quite a null reference. It's an argument null. So let's go into the save map, go to line 99. So we're going to go to this file, and then we're going to use Control-G to go to line 99. And this is the line that is throwing our exception right now. Commander Radical and Tessel, thank you very much for those follows. Glad you're enjoying the stream. colors should still work, right? I think rainbow might have died because of what I did there, but because I closed the program. But I think colors might still work. Oh no, we're caught on a breakpoint. What am I talking about? We're not doing anything right now. We're caught on a breakpoint. Okay, so 999 live total seconds. So this is doing a bit converter of the map, and the map is null. So that's an interesting problem. What do you do when map is null? Because map is null, isn't it? If we take a look at the constructor, yep, that came in as the array came in null. Map is valid. If it's not valid, set it to null. Otherwise, set it to map. I think instead of null, we should make it empty. Yeah, so that's why I'm thinking. Yeah, that's why we're in the constructors, is to handle this nicer. But the challenge is that if this gets set to null, maybe we just exit out of that code entirely. Maybe we don't even get into this if these came back as null. I think we don't even go to here. I think if any of these came back null, then we don't continue on. Certainly if save map came back null, we don't continue on. If that's null, we just return. If we don't, because if we can't, like, that's, so save map isn't like, the name makes sense. Save map makes sense if you understand how the game works, in that this is the in-memory data that the game would use to create a save file if you were to save the game. But really what that means is that this is like the general data of the game. So if you can't read the just general information about the current state of the game's not even there, and you shouldn't even continue on. Wait, what? Use is null. Yeah, exactly. To be honest, it really doesn't matter. I love the concept of explaining to people that these are not actually the same thing. Is null and equals null are not technically the same in C#. They are two separate actions that are happening, but Wheatlaw's correct that if you use is null all the time, like that you know, like that this is more sane to do equals, because realistically, if this is ever a difference, there's something wrong. However, they are different operations. So to explain for anyone that doesn't know, if you do an is null, this is actually a check to see whether or not this value actually is the constant. And yes, in C# null is a constant, whether or not the value of save map byte data is null. If it is, this evaluates to true. This operation is slightly different. What this says is take the type of this value, run its equality operation. So this variable, take its equals use its equality operator, this one here, and check to see for this type whether the value of this type matches this one over here. Now, because null is a constant, it can be applied to any other, and it can be, compared to any other thing. We're actually checking to see whether this one is equal to this one based on the definition of equals. A little confusing, I know, but the idea is that if someone changed how equality is done on this value, this might not evaluate the way you expect it to. And that's why I say if you're ever in a case where this is a problem, someone has done something horrible anyway. So you can write it either way. If you want to do is, do is. If you want to do equals, up to you. But know that there is a difference. I think it is valuable to know that what the language is doing, because this gives you the understanding. I'm calling a method here, right? I am calling a method that I can change. This is like language level, check. So that's the difference. Okay. Let's see. It's kind of weird that it's you as a type test. Can I write list of null in C#? Can you make a list of null? I don't think so. Because I don't think null is technically a type. It's a constant. And yes, as Miha mentions, is technically easier for the compiler to optimize out. Do you ever use throw null? Wheatlaw, I don't use throw null. I can't type list null. Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Hey Renee, welcome. Throw null is actually allowed? I mean, it might be. Either way, I'll write is null because I like is null. And down here, technically, you could do this, but I really hate this because it's ugly. You can technically do that and say not colors is null, but that confuses people and thus is not worth doing. Just do, exclamation point equals on that, and you'll be much better off. So if you didn't get a save map, don't even continue on. That's going to be our stance on this one. Throw null sounds like the worst thing. I mean, it makes sense because null would be a constant that could be an exception type. But, oh man, should you never do that? Yeah, throw null works. Yeah, it shouldn't work, but, I mean, it should based on the language, but that's a thing that no one should ever do. Okay. So stream colors are now changed back. I'm going to go ahead and connect that. So congratulations, everyone. You now have access to i7 again. Oh, hey, look. Game wasn't running. We hit one of these. That's actually kind of awesome. That's perfect. It happened before it was running. So apparently we can get this before it's running. Bit converter. What did line 225? Got to here. And that value wasn't null? Whoops, sorry everyone. That must have just not had all the data? Hang on, I'm gonna start this over again. Restart that. Because I started this before the game was there. Maybe it errors there too. I thought the game would have to be running and you'd have to stop it in order to get that, but I might be wrong there. I'm gonna take a look. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Yes, precisely, S&B. Every time someone points out one of the problems, the problems with default implementations and interfaces, I go, yeah, but you shouldn't use it that way. Hey, Thready Rex, welcome. Greetings. Wait, is that like the Thready Rex? Because if it is, welcome to the stream. Thanks for that follow. You are one of the people that people mildly confuse me over because we both like dinosaurs, cute dinosaurs. So you would probably love our emotes here. But no, seems X is null is a special case. Sad panda. And Extreme Chad, welcome. Thank you for that follow. Much appreciated. Okay, well I'll read that later. Okay, this is running. Does this... How is it? Oh! I'm in the game, but I'm not really in the game. That's what's going on. I'm in the title screen. So it sees this, but it can't find the game data. So the program's running, but it doesn't have it. So that's what's going on. Okay. So we got data, but it's all zeros. See? Everything in here is 0. So that's what's going on. Van Bonzen, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, or at least close. Welcome, thank you for that follow, much appreciated. And if I ever am butchering anyone's name, let me know if I'm butchering your name, and tell me how to say it better, and I will do my best. So hopefully I'm not, though. Okay, so let's step in and take a look at what's going on then. I want to go in here, verify map integrity. Okay, so we come in here, verify map integrity. Okay, so we're starting off with true, and then almost guaranteed we're returning false, right? Really? None of those failed? Let me remove all these breakpoints again. And we do hit the exception eventually. But what's the case? Oh, good. glad I got close enough, apparently. Don't you mean something like null? I think you're talking about that at the conversation. So what is going on here? If we take a look at this at the stack trace, throw argument null exception on our bit converter to int on our save map. If I continue, do we get it again? Yes, so we just keep getting it over and over. So I'm going to drop the breakpoint there again. Okay, thank you. I'm going to remove that breakpoint, and we're going to remove this breakpoint for now as well. So we're going to step in here. We are saying that this is valid, despite the fact that when we look at this map, you can see that all these values are 0. So, oh no, they're not all 0, just a lot of zeros. There are some non-zeros, so there apparently is enough that we're saying that it got the data. So we've apparently checked some of the map to see that it's valid. And then we're going to set this. We're not using the save map there, but somewhere else we must access it. So we have colors, so they all get set. And then, oops, did not mean to hit that key. We'll step in here. And what happens? So we're setting a whole bunch of these values, grabbing the live party members, and we're pulling data off of them. Is that where? Nope. It's not where we grab the equipment either. It's probably where we check battle, right? Nope. So where is our error then? And welcome, Killiams. Thank you very much for that follow. Yeah, I'm not in the stack trace right now because I didn't save the stack trace. You know what? Here, let's figure out where it is. I'm just going to continue on. Are we not getting it? Oh, I don't have the breakpoint on the... Hang on. Game data... Breakpoint. Wait, is it not doing it right now? Interesting. It's not throwing it now. Let's go ahead and restart. Figure out what it's doing, because it is catching here. We are throwing this exception. We know we are. Alright, let's get the program running. There it is. So I have Final Fantasy VII running, and it's not catching that breakpoint. Interesting. Well, let's jump into the game and see if it's working. So we're in here. Let's bring up the status the status overlay again. This window. That is not the current party. That is a lie. That's not the same people. No. What is going on? Thanks, Mihai. Yeah, fixed. Ship it. All done. Yeah, that works. Okay, so it did work that time. I don't know why it didn't work there. Probably something to do with our switches and everything. Something else I do want to note. You'll remember that in our previous testing a long time ago, for anybody that was here in the earlier parts of the stream, when Strife was testing things, he changed Cloud's name to Strife and Barrett's name to Brendan. And that was actually a completely different save file and everything like that. But because our Interactive 7 is running, which is this program right here, this is our WPF app in .NET Core 3 that we've been building, it automatically changed those names for us when we loaded this, despite that those were not the names of the characters in this save file. Wheatlaw, yeah, why wasn't it catching the exception? I think because it wasn't running. That'd be my guess. Yeah, it's not catching it because we aren't throwing it. That's true. You're correct. I was asking the wrong question. Not why aren't we catching the exception, why aren't we throwing the exception? And, there you go, everyone. Let's have some new colors. There we go. Much better. Let's close this and see if we catch the exception now. So we're getting in here, that value is coming back as null, and it's bailing. Okay, so we're protected from the game closes exception now. What about when I start it up again, though? We still avoiding that? Okay. Still no exceptions. I'm starting the game over here. You can see it as I'm going in, and we got Visual Studio back there. We're not getting the exceptions. So, huh? Yeah. Someone just changed it to black. Renee, you're totally right. But for anyone that is actually, like, if you are new to programming, if you are one of those beginner programmers here in the stream, one of the things I love about live coding, and I hope that you all do too, is the fact that we do run into this stuff, and it shows it to everyone, especially beginning developers, as well as anybody that really has to deal a lot with imposter syndrome. You'll see I will make mistakes. Any other streamer that you watch, we are, like, dumbfounded sometimes by these things. We're like, yep, why isn't that working? I don't know. Yes, C# 8 is released, Wheatlaw. That is correct. And you'll see these things all the time. We'll just be like banging our heads like, why isn't this working? And it's like, oh yeah, okay, got it. That's why it's not working. It happens all the time. Sometimes we don't know why it's not working, and the issue just goes away like this. I'm wondering if maybe our changes didn't totally happen. I'm not sure why it was doing what it was there for a little bit, but hey, gone for now. If you're returning early, you don't trigger the new search for process, so it's not updated beyond that. Oh, you're right. Ooh, good call. Yeah, Shoji's right. But before we do this, we should check and see if it needs to search for the process again, shouldn't we? If timer is null, start it. If timer is not null, disable it. Does trying to get... Okay, so trying to get this automatically tries to connect. So when you try to access the property, it automatically attempts to connect to it. So that's what's going on there. That's a good point. So maybe we should be doing that. I think Mr. Shoji might be right. I think we might need to grab that. I'm going to check and see what was happening. Null save code would be fun, but C# isn't ready for that stuff. Yeah, no. Wheatlaw is correct. So for anyone that doesn't know, C# 8 added in a new concept. It is called nullable reference types. And if you know a lot about C#, you're now thinking, and you listen to what I just said, I said nullable reference types. You'll go, wait a minute. Reference types were already nullable. It's value types that are not nullable. And, yes, you're right. The interesting thing about that is the reason the feature is called nullable reference types is because they now allow you to specify that reference types are nullable. And what that does is it says, oh, the reference types are going to be nullable, so that means that there's obviously a case where they're not nullable. So essentially, it's C# is letting you indicate that reference types, so like your regular classes and things like that, can't be null. And you go, how is that even possible? And the short answer is, it's not really. It's sort of an illusion. It's a bunch of compiler safety for the most part to prevent you from being in a situation where you would have a null. So the idea is that the C# compiler will go out of its way to force you to really, really, really make sure that no values are ever null, and that's kind of the idea. Yeah, so what Miha just typed in there, it will compiler error if you try to just create a variable with null, or if you have a constructor that does not initialize all the properties of an object. Like, if you don't initialize everything in the constructor to a real value, again, compiler error. And that's really just all they did, was just make it so that you're forced to initialize everything. And it's funny, because you're like, well, but I do that anyway. It's like, you do you? we all like to think that we do, but no, we don't. Okay. Seems to be switch expressions and null save code. There were actually a bunch of other things, a lot of little things as well added C# 8. You spent a day troubleshooting an issue related to a cached assembly last week. Took a night's sleep to figure it out. Yeah, exactly, Renee. That is one of the, like, and a lot of times, yes, it is a, you have to take some time not thinking about it to figure it out. Silverlight, awesome. I hope that's your name, and you're not just a Silverlight fan, but maybe you are a Silverlight fan. Silverlight was quite fun back in the day. Welcome, thank you very much for that Twitch Prime sub, and please be sure to enjoy all of your DevChatter emotes, as they are quite fun. Yeah. Feel free to talk or remain silent. Always up to you, any viewers here in the stream. It's probably the best feature in the past 3 C# versions. Oh, the which one? Think about all the required properties that aren't passed in the constructor because you use the blah blah syntax in many more cases. Yes. Wheatlaw is correct. The nullable reference types is one of the best features in C# 8. It's difficult for old projects to switch to that. If you do want to switch to it, it does take some effort. You can. I have switched some projects over to, using nullable reference types, essentially not allowing reference types to be null. You actually have to specify for any value you want to be null that it is null, or that it is nullable. Essentially using the same question mark syntax we use to make value types nullable as well. So that's actually what we did with that. Interface implementations did actually make it into C# 8. That is correct. Be careful how you use those. I actually do like them. It falls into the category of this is a thing that if you use it wrong and don't understand what interfaces are for, it does some terrible, awful things. If you understand what interfaces are for, and you have a case where you have a small thing that you want to put in there, and you have a pretty good reason to do it, and that reason usually is this is very minimal and is not going to get reused all over the place and is replacing the need for an abstract class that is otherwise just there, then yeah, go ahead and use them. But do be cautious. It's one of those, when used wrong, it's a terrible feature kind of things. Let's see. Do you still have to use the interface type in order to use its methods? Only if it is ambiguous. So it needs to be treated as the interface type. So like if the object is the interface type, so if you are using it polymorphically, then yes, it's just going to work. If you're using the instance object, you will need to cast it, Wheatlall. So the idea is it only actually has to be specified if you are not using it polymorphically anyway. The What's New in C# 8 for a more complete list. There's a lot of useful things. Yeah, Miha is correct. You can either go read articles on that, or if you attend any conferences I speak at, at most conferences that I attend, I send in a bunch of talks, but I almost always put in one on C#, because I do like talking about all the cool stuff that is in there. So you can also check out any conferences I'm ever attending to find those. Nice, Fuel Snable. Yeah. Fuel Snable, of course, making an object-oriented programming joke there. Yes, Wheatlall. The part that I remember you commenting about being horrible, the aspect of it that I would agree with was horrible. That is not required, but it is in there for a very good reason, because you do need to specify which interface, because of the fact that for anyone that doesn't know, C# does not allow multiple inheritance. What that means is that a class can only inherit from one other class. It cannot inherit from two different parent classes. That protects you from a lot of really scary things that could happen where, like, which method do I call? I have two instances of this. Doesn't happen. The reason why the C# interface implementation was done the way it is to avoid those problems. It was written that way, so because you can have more than one interface, let's say that in my interface I, have a method called doWork, and I have two interfaces that both have a doWork method. When I have my variable, my instance of a specific type that I'm trying to use, it doesn't know which one to use. You know what? Let me just... This program's not running. Actually, let's go inside of a folder. We'll delete this when we're done, but... yeah, sure, this is a great folder to put it in. Example. So we're going to make example. We're going to make iExample1, and actually, because people have been lately complaining about foo and bar, I don't really need a foo or a bar, so we're going to do ifoo and ibar. Now, why did I call them foo and bar? Because the names don't matter. They're irrelevant to this. They both happen to have a doWork method, and it is void. And if I have a void doWork down here, that is two interfaces called that. And we're going to make a public class called cat. Oh, my cat left. Ifoo, ibar. Oh, look, I need to have implementation. So if I were to implement this, I would end up with this. So if you've never seen this syntax, S&B, I actually always had two cats, but the one cat, essentially this cat wouldn't usually show up on stream, but she was hanging out next to me during this stream. So not a new cat, she was Jolie's friend. either way, you'll notice that this is ifoo do work and ibar do work, and they get implemented this way because I don't have a default implementation defined. So C# has to do this to kind of say, okay, I see that you've got both. I need to specify so that I can keep them straight, because you're allowed to have two of these, but I need to clarify what they are. And so now if I'm trying to use this somewhere else, I need to specify which one it is. So let's make static class, I don't know. This will be example. Sure, why not? And we'll do public void, I don't know. Just do it. And this will be static void, because I'm going to do it validly. We're going to make a new cat. So we make this cat object, and we can say cat dot do work. Oh, I can't do work. Why can't I do work? Well, the reason why is because these had to get implemented explicitly. AJ, thanks for that follow. Much appreciated. Because of that, in order to call this, I actually have to call ifoo cat. So I have to change the type of cat to be an ifoo, and now I have do work. But I could also cast it as an ibar and do work. But if I don't do that, it is not there, it's not valid, I can't compile. Yeah, cats don't work. That is correct, Batman. Cats don't work. So this is right here. If I were to remove one of these and only have one, and get rid of this, and comment out this, and I just have the implementation of ifoo that is do work, non-public, oh, whoops. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so now this works just fine. This one it has a problem with because that type is not a valid cast for that. So it would have an error, and that works just fine. But I want to go back to where we were a moment ago when we have the multiple implementations. So rather than having implementations down here, I want to give them implementations up here. We're going to do not implemented exceptions, so is that not going to let me? Oh, I'm not in C#8 in this. Well, that's silly. Either way, the example will still hold. I guess I'm not. I've got to be, though, right? Net Core 3. I'm in C#8. Aren't I? Yeah, Fuel Snable, the Diamond Inheritance. We're not doing that. Directing your human is quite the job. Yes, Renee. Cat's just, that's true, Miha. Throw null would have been shorter. But I didn't think of doing that. We are in C#8. Why isn't that, Well, either way, the point being that, assuming we're in C#8 and this compiles, this is the way that you'd have to call this, unless you stored the cat as an ifoo, at which point that one would work just fine, and then this one would have to cast in order to call the other one. So that's just the way it works. If you have the correct type, you can just call it. If you don't, you can't. So that is what we were talking about regarding that. Yeah, so, well, no, I mean, so Well, there are multiple problems with multiple inheritance, but one of them just is that you can have two implementations of the same thing, and it doesn't know which one to use. The really bad one is the diamond, anyway, sidetrack. Let me commit our changes from earlier. What did we actually change? Let's have a look. Because I do want to get this committed. So the first thing is, in our isBattle, we said, hey, if this value is null, so if this comes back null, we want to make sure that we propagate it and set the value to 0 instead. So there was an error happening right here. We short-circuited that. And then the next one, we said this. So we said if the save map is null, go ahead and we're going to search for process again. So we're going to run this again, see what happens, make sure that that runs okay. And then down here, we said, hey, if for some reason you don't have colors, don't even try to apply it. So this probably won't ever matter because I think we'd hit this one first. But we'll see. Oh, SNB won. Congratulations, SNB. Alright, let's go ahead and try running the program again. So we're going to run this. I will not have Final Fantasy VII up and running yet, so we're hoping we hit that. We're hoping we hit a breakpoint or some kind of error or something like that. Actually, let me try and get a breakpoint in here. There we go. So if for any reason we run those, where can you download C# 8? Grab .NET Core 3 without Visual Studio. Get VS Code and the .NET Core SDK version 3, Wheatlall. So .NET 3.0 has C# 8. You can install the SDK and just run it using the command line, Wheatlall. Yeah, get .NET Core 3 with the SDK and run it, and then you can just edit text files and anything you want. So you do not need VS Code or Visual Studio in order to run C# 8. You just, yeah, yes. Miha, that is exactly what I was saying, is you just run Notepad then. Because that's a, well, you run Writer? No. If you're gonna poo-poo C#, you don't get to run Writer, you have to run Notepad. No, I'm just kidding. No, we love Wheatlall here. We're just kidding. You're gonna put binary directly into your RAM too. Oh yeah, that's a good plan, SNB. Yeah. Just get out a little magnet and grab an old spinning platter hard drive and just pick the bits with your magnet and you'll be good. You just echo to files. There you go. Every afternoon, yeah. Okay, we're not getting those exceptions. So, there we go, got one. Which value is null right now? Must be the same error. Let's try and get into the stack trace and cool. Please show me the stack trace. There it is. All right, I'm gonna save this time. I'm gonna save it in Notepad because it's good enough. All right, so we got an error. And what's the error? It's this right here. So it was in get live total seconds when we were updating that. So live total seconds is this right here. We were looking at it before. It is referenced in one place. So we do this immediately. So we take the live total seconds and we try to convert that into just a big number. And the problem is at the time that we run that, we don't have a value. So it's saying map is null. So we'll do a conditional breakpoint on this. And we'll say that the conditional breakpoint is map equals null. right? So if that condition's ever true, we should hit a breakpoint there. Okay, so I just closed the program, and we're hitting this here. So this value is null, and it should continue to search for the process each time. Yep, so I'm able to click this, and it just keeps coming back in here, checking for it again. So let's start up the program again, and now it should stop checking for the process. Well, I mean, it should find it one of these times. I hope. Save map data keeps coming back null. Why? Maybe I just had a bunch of them queued up, and I just gotta click through all those. So I'll remove that, and we'll see if it comes up. Wow, it's still saying it doesn't find it. Oh, why is it coming back with null? Okay, so we're in here. It's not 0. Oh my god, there are so many right now. Okay, so that's the problem. I think we maybe don't want to do that. What else calls search for process? Where's this called? Start, search for process. It'll keep going until it finds it. You know what? Let's try this. I have an idea. Before we search for it, let's check the state of things. Mr. Moonslam, thank you very much for that follow. Much appreciated. I just saw the fun conversation that Miha and Wheatlaw were having there. And there might be Microsoft people actually in the chat, but I don't know for certain. We frequently, I mean, we very well could get Microsoft people. Like, it's not going to be like C# Fritz's where like they're just going to show up because there's coworkers, but but we will occasionally have them. We're much more likely to have Microsoft MVPs in our chat than we are to have Microsoft employees in the chat. But there could be some. A function with 0 parameters and void return type. Yep, totally happens, Wheatlaw. It's a method. C# does in fact allow side effects. There are side effects to this method. That is quite obvious. Mr. Moonslam, the project is going well. Thank you for asking. So if you haven't seen what we're doing, this is essentially adding in chat interactivity to Final Fantasy VII. So 20-plus-year-old game, and still very popular. It's actually getting a remake that's coming out in only a few months. So that remake is going to be probably pretty popular, I think. But we'll see what happens with it. So I'm thinking that we want to check this before we try and search for the process again. We only want to do this if this is null, is my thought. Say like, if that, then search for process. But do I? But that again is going to spin up additional ones, isn't it? I only want one. We need one. Mr. Shoji, no, we won't have an i7R. We're much more likely to get i8 first, which, if you haven't seen, I technically started, Mr. Shoji. So i8 is started, and there will eventually be an i9, assuming that people want to build them. You're lurking on the EU.net team now? Oh, yeah. Yes, Mr. Shoji, yes. We can absolutely do those at some point. It's just getting around to making them. To be honest, I'm tempted to put it into the same program and make it so that when we start up, they just, like, you know, click which Final Fantasy it is they're playing, and we just spin up the correct interactivity for that. It's that, or we make them, like, download the ones that they want to be able to do. I don't know. Haven't decided yet, but something like that. You have to reboot your work computer to get the USB mouse to work. Wow, Fuel Snable, you're in, like, 1990-something. Yeah, so Mr. Shoji, I agree. Potentially some of the earlier ones could be easier than the later ones, but there is a significant modding community for Final Fantasy VIII, which I am hoping that modding community can help us in making Interactive 8. And by help us, I mean at least point us in the right direction to find the stuff we need. There are some really useful modding tools that already exist for Final Fantasy VIII as well, that I think we can use to find the information that we need. Keep in mind that before I started Interactive 7, I knew almost nothing about what was going on inside of the memory in Final Fantasy 7, because realistically I only knew how the game worked from like a player's perspective for the most part, and player's perspective that's also a programmer, so I have some intuition on what might be going on, but actual knowledge of where anything was stored or how it was stored I did not have. So why not Final Fantasy 24? Well, because we'd have to wait like 3 or 4 years for that to come out. Actually, at the current pace that they're releasing these games, I'll probably be dead before they make Final Fantasy 24. They've slowed down a lot. 7, 8, and 9 came out like a year apart, practically. So there was like a time frame when they were working on multiple games at the same time. That company actually used to just really, really make awesome games at a good pace, but not anymore. They're a lot slower now. Okay, we need to change how that works. I want one search for process going. If timer is null, create it. If otherwise, return, right? If null does not equal timer, so if timer is still here, set it to be enabled. Where? Timer is the read all game data timer, which means we don't want to start an extra one of those ever. We do not want to start. That's terrible if we do that. Where is search? What does search for process do? That's a diagnostic process. Hang on. What is... Oh, something's going on in chat. First, I'm going to store all my state as statics. Yes, Fuel Snable. So some of these old games, especially, so you got to remember these were running on a PlayStation, not on a computer. Yeah, no. We are not critical of the code here, Mr. Shoji. I'm just trying to unravel this one, just so that we don't mess it up. Because I'm trying to think like, so. When we start monitoring the game, we're going to say, if there's no timer, go ahead and start it. Search for process. Did this start it when it did it? It did. So it should actually have already been started before we even got to this point. Because it should have done it right away. So this doesn't even need to actually get called. Technically. Except that it really technically could get called, but just in here. So actually, let's just cut the code. We're going to move it here. So that's where it's going to start monitoring for the game. And it only does that if there isn't one. But actually, maybe it shouldn't do that until after we've found the process. It should attempt to get it first, and then once it finds it, then it should go on. Do we really need to lock here? That's a question. Let's see. Yeah. I put this to-do comment in here, I know, long ago, because I was like, do we really need to lock? So one other thing, it's usually recommended that you lock on an object that's specifically designed to be a lock, like, internal to your type, because the danger with locking here is if someone locks on timer, and like this, but then if inside of your timer, which in this case, it's not going to be on that one, but you want to make sure that nothing else locked on the same object you did without thinking about it. Lock on a timer and then check if it's null in the next line. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we do not want to... Yeah, because the problem is I didn't create it. So, because we changed the ordering of it. So I'm going to get rid of that lock. I don't think we need it. Although, what we could actually do is this. If timer is null, so we'll say if timer is null, then we're willing to or FF7 is null. If either of these is null, then we can go in here. Or FF7 dot has exited, something like that. If any of those are the case, then we can come back in here. Now, we still don't want a lock on this. This is still wrong. We want to actually have a lock. I'm going to make a process search lock. Oh, and I'm going to name it based on what our naming scheme works from. Which actually, I'm just going to call it proc search lock. Just be a little bit shorter. Someone's probably saying something significant in chat. I will get to you in a second, people in chat. Okay, what do we got? I think that lock was just there to protect against 2 inits because of bad checks. Yeah. Getting rid of locks. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Fuel Snable is I don't think we have multiple threads. Yeah, but it's a single one thread, I believe, Shoji. I think it's one thread. Wheatlaw, you might be the only person that only ever uses properties and doesn't use fields at all. But yes, you could make a private property, for example, and one of the advantages of using a private property is the fact that CodeLens in Visual Studio would actually give us all the references to the uses of a property, and they do not give us that for a field. So that is one of the advantages of doing it the way that that Wheatlaw was suggesting. And yeah, for anything non-private, we usually use a field, with the exception being if I, for some reason, needed something static. But again, for that, you could just make a static method. It's the fact that you cannot make the other one. So, do we need to lock? Do we need to lock? I think no. And this only does something, yeah, it only does something if that was not already running. So calling this a second time, what is this going to do? I don't think it triggers an extra run of anything. Timer is null, so that can't ever happen. That just does that, and as soon as it is done, it was going to call this one. Timer can't ever be in that case, so with the way that we're writing this. Now we're inside of a, just so you know, we're inside of a branch, so if this, if you need a lock, you probably need lock picking. Yes, exactly, commentator. Try it without. It's been nearly a year since I did the main loop control. Oh, you're right. Timer might not be null, but we also don't care whether it's null. I don't think, do we? Yeah, I guess we can disable it and just say, "Hey, stop running," while we try and connect. If the timer's going, turn it off, turn it back on. I guess that's the reason for the lock, to make sure only one thing turns it off. I guess that could be the reason, you know, the thought being that, like, we don't want a second one getting in here, so in case it's ever multi-threaded. But then these checks should make sure we actually needed to come in here and disable the timer. Timer enabled is only set in a single place currently. Has something left the while loop? Yeah. That's as it was. Well, when it's created, it starts out enabled. We only disable it here, so if you disabled it, you'd have to turn it on here. No, Miha, I was also, it was also weird to me. And yes, so Mr. Shoji was writing that as a safe way of doing it. So technically, you're supposed to put the value before the type so that you can never accidentally make an assignment. But yeah. Yep, Mr. Shoji is correct. So the example with a null wouldn't necessarily work, but you could write like, you know, an if foo equals true, bool true is false. Whoops, foo equals false. And you can do one of these, and you'll notice that I'm getting like some squigglies here, because it's like, oh, you probably didn't want to do assignment, and it figures that out and tells me about it, right? And it's also here saying, oh, you don't actually need to do any of that, because it's all worthless. But the point being that it will compile with an assignment there if the returned type of the assignment statement is valid to be in the place that it's written. So, meh. So, but either way, most of us are used to seeing it written like this, with timer does not equal null being the way that you'd write it. I wish that they let us do a null conditional on a setter. That would be nice. Okay, the short answer is SOAP is more of a contracted way of handling that type of information, whereas REST is like it's almost more like a way of designing it, in that you are creating the contract like basically as web request operations is kind of the idea with REST. They work fairly differently. I guess I would wonder what you're actually trying to find out there. So the question was, what's the difference between SOAP and REST? And I would wonder, why are you asking? Like, what do you want to do? And Fuel Snable's correct. So gRPC or GraphQL or basically just like a lot of people are looking towards the new stuff. And yes, SOAP has been out for a while, but that's why I ask, like, what's your question? Because if you are in a circumstance where you are working with those already, yes, lots of dead stuff is still used. Yeah, I didn't say it wasn't. Yes, WCF. Yep, you'll still run into places that use it. Yeah, exactly. Windows XP is still used, and there are places where like Windows XP is still being deployed, and like that's dead. Just because it's dead doesn't mean people aren't using it. People use dead stuff all the time. Like, I read books on dead trees sometimes too. You know what? I want to run this. Let's run this. People still use command. Okay, command line. Yeah, that's not dead though. Yeah, Shoji. People still use XP. It's totally a thing. Command line's dead? Yeah. Alright, let me remove that. We don't need that breakpoint anymore. Alright, program's running again. There we go. That should have connected. Let's close Final Fantasy, see if we hit a breakpoint. Nope. Interactive 7 is kind of dead, isn't it? Okay, so that is the non-information information there. Interesting. So here's my game. My computer is also dead, clearly. That's how I'm talking to all of you. Dead computer, obviously. Alright, so it says Interactive 7 is live. There's the party. Excellent. Switch to a bronze bangle. Everything's wired up. Good. Alright. Close that. Anything? Nothing. We're not hitting a breakpoint. So, we're not getting the errors right now. Now the question is, if I load the game up again and load a different save, is it going to pick it up? Or is that the problem we're going to run into right now? I just want to find out. So we're going to load a different game, because they've got other characters over there right now. But if I load this one, that only has 2 characters, is it going to figure that? Or is it disconnected? It's disconnected, I think. Yep, it's disconnected. Okay. So, I think what that means is that we do need to we need something else back in there. Keyboards are so 20th century. Oh man, you are all horrible, horrible people. Keyboards are great. I like keyboards. Okay, so I bet we're hitting this breakpoint here and then not continuing the search, and that's what's causing us the issue. You can smash those keyboards and the keys fly everywhere. Yeah, that's what we're using keyboards for. Alright, so we have this. It should be detecting them now. There it is. It's got the characters. It can tell what's going on with them. I can do stuff over here, and you can all see the results of it. See, look, I'm moving Eris around. I'm moving Cloud around. See? So, definitely working. Now I'm going to close the program. Whoa. Caught my breakpoint immediately. So now we hit this, and we're returning from this. So that's fine. So we know that that's hitting and that's returning. So let's load this game again. So the game is up and running. Let's throw our breakpoint here. So it is still coming back with null on that. I think what has gone wrong, So I think what has happened is, because I closed the process, this is still tied to the old process. So this is actually a difference in how so you'll remember I pointed out that there are two separate programs running here, sort of, in that this is the status overlay sing, which is what we're working on right now, and then all the chat interactivity stuff that I mentioned here, that they were sort of two programs that are coming together. So this is one of the problems with this memory reader and the way that it works, is it's connecting right off the bat and just doing this constant connection, reading that process. In the other one, they check to see, hey, am I connected to a process? And if not, they try to connect to it. So that's why the Interactive 7 ones will just reconnect automatically all the time, because we're doing individual interactions. So when someone sends us a text command, we go and connect to it and do that. There could be a span of 5 to 10 minutes where no one is interacting at all. So we allow that, to reconnect to the process and do that. Whereas this one doesn't, because it was just planning on just constantly pinging it. What that means is, if the process ever disappears, we need to rewire it up. So let's have a look. Because I don't want to just rewire up the search stuff, because that's just silly. We shouldn't be, we should, but only if it disconnected, I kind of feel like. The process disconnects. Here we go. So the process is going to be right there. Commentator, you are asking if I have made a Twitch extension that's actually like running in their Twitch video, as in pops up on the screen and they can interact with it. Not one that is being sent from the streamer's computer on their stream. And the answer to that is I have not made an extension for Twitch. They're called Twitch extensions, and I do not have any of those that I have built. We have worked with a guy named Lucky. Yes, Mr. Shoji is correct. The yet. What I was going to say is we have been working with a guy named Lucky. Actually, his name's Andy, but I think he publicly lets people know that that's his name. If not, whoops. He does build those kinds of things for Twitch, and we're going to be working with him on adding that kind of an extension to this program, though we have not done that yet. So that is actually the plan, is to make it so that some of the interaction... yes, Weelol, that would be the one. Lucky number 7. He is one of the moderators on our stream here, has been for a long, long time. Okay, so I think so what did this got called from here. So we created the memory reader with this value. So I almost want to change how the memory reader works, so that it maintains a connection, and when it loses it, it reconnects. Instead of doing that connection out here, make the memory reader be the thing that does it, and have it just say, if it didn't get one, then return something, and we continue on. And so the loop can maintain, and it keeps running, and it will just no-op whenever there's no connection. And I think that will be fine, I think is the way that I want that to work. Commentator, yeah, he does stream the stuff that he works on. I don't remember exactly how his name is spelled. It's Lucky Number 7. You can find him in our Discord. I don't remember if you're in our Discord, or S&B can just toss the link in there. There you go. I was gonna say, I don't like, his name's spelled in a weird way. Hence why I just call him Lucky, because it works. Do I put it into the actual reader itself? At which point we're... Right, we passed it in there when we did it. Okay. Right, that's what we were going to do. Okay. So thinking about this, what this says to me is we need to pass in the process to that. I think is what we want to do. So let's change up how the code... So for now, I'm going to do it this way. Let's go to read game data, and we're going to say... if ff7 is null, or has exited, then we'll just return. Process connector. If it is null, or this is where I need this, has exited. If it is either null or it is exited, then try to get it again. Assign it into there. Yeah, look! Remember when I was running into the problem with C#8 stuff not working the way I was expecting? Look, I have C#8. I clearly do. I can't use a null coalescing assignment operator unless I do. I must have something configured wrong somewhere. Because that absolutely works. Error connecting to the FF7 process, so yeah. Process, yeah, okay. That should work just fine. We'll say if either of those is the case. Yeah. No, Mr. Shoji, it's not 8.1, it'd be 8. Okay, so if we do that, yeah, there must be a setting. I'll have to take a look at it. I've got example code in another project that works just fine. The projects I use for demoing those features, not this one. So this might be because I'm running an old like preview that's been updated. I don't remember if I've even updated to the like real versions or not. If we're still on the preview versions of stuff, I don't remember. So that could also be some problems with it. I don't know. So we're saying if this is null or it is exited, just return, because this gets called every time the timer elapses. So this is just going to get called repeatedly. And calling that itself, just calling FF7 at all should make the check happen. Which actually, can't I do that? Can I do that? No, because that'd be... Why is my brain melting right now? There, that works. If it has exited, and if it's null, then just say true. Yeah, there we go. That's what I meant to write. Yes, every afternoon. Yeah, see, I got it. Yep. My brain eventually made that make sense. Okay, so we're gonna say get out of there if that is the case, and it should get recalled every time. And because we're accessing this again, it should reconnect that piece. Now, here's the problem. The memory reader won't get rewritten each time if we're doing that. So what that means, and actually, let me just make sure if it says if it's not null, we're just getting it. So yeah, so it checks that, returns the actual stored value if the value is still valid. So what that says to me is inside of the Sing program, where we are calling these memory readers, oh yeah, I got rid of all references to this because I removed that, didn't I? I'm gonna get rid of that. We're only ever calling with a memloc now. We just assign the process? What set the handle? Open set it. So it opened the process when we had that. So that's going to be an issue. Huh. So when we go to read memory, if that is that, so it's going to call open. I'm going to change that to open process. We don't need to change those. What does open process do? That's funny, nothing even calls close. This has to be 0, otherwise it doesn't work. If that's not 0, it doesn't work at all. So it won't try to connect it, because even if we send in a new process, it won't try this, because it's going to look at that and say, I'm already connected, but we gave it a new process. So that's a problem, because we read actually from the handle, not from the process itself. Pixel Cow, welcome. Thanks for that follow. Much appreciated. Welcome to the stream. What are we trying to... So... Add a setter to process. Yeah, we could reset the handler when we set the new process variable. But we'd only do that if they were different, I guess? Because what I was thinking about doing was accepting the process in here and saying... doing this. So yeah, we can add the doc comment, that's fine. So what I was thinking is if we say if process does not equal process, it's this dot target process, there we go. And this has to go in a method somewhere. So we'll make a verify connection. We'll say connect to process. Am I inside of public methods? Yes, I am. And we're going to put all of this in. We're going to put these in here. Whoops. Cut. Paste. If connect to process, then do this. And this has to take in process. Add that as a parameter there. We'll say if process is not equal to that, then that means that we have a new one. And we will say process target process equals process, and target process handle equals int pointer 0. This was a private. This was a haha. We need to make that a private setter. We will remove it from the constructor, so it will not happen here anymore. We're going to move that. Move the constructors. So that means we want that down here, and its name is just process. Okay. I guess we'll return null for now. We might leave it that way. Hello, just process. I'm dad. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so when we connect, we now need to return back a boolean. So I'm actually just going to say return true for now. True. So we're saying if the process is not the if it's not the existing process, then go ahead and assign it and attempt to connect. So we're going to say open process, right? whoops. I should actually say, or if target process handle equals int pointer 0. Now the reason why I'm doing that is because it does not, if we assign the same value over it, that's fine, and if in this one, if we assign the same value over it, that's fine. It doesn't really make a difference. Can you require the caller to connect instead? We could potentially, fast as turtle, we could potentially have that do the connection instead, but I want to get this code that's doing the connection here, and we can decide whether that's going to be inside of this or elsewhere, but I just want to get it extracted out so there's one spot where we're doing the connection. So the caller's not, so I don't want the caller to be responsible for finding the right process. I want the caller to be responsible for telling me what process I should be trying to connect to, ideally every afternoon. So in this case, we're technically making this, this is the aspect that's making it more like the way that, the way our other one works. Which maybe I should just switch us to the other one. And then extract out of this one the parts that I like. Turn false. So what the other one does is it makes you, so in the other one, in our other memory reader, because remember we're merging two applications together here, that's part of why there's the two things. In the other one, you tell it what process it's supposed to be connecting to, and it will just connect to it, and that's fine. And the reason why it's being told what process to connect to is that, well, technically, I guess it could just have access to the settings, and then you wouldn't need to tell it. That's actually a good point. Alright, we're doing it that way. Man, these. Do you have private properties somewhere?
Developers.
Hey, talk to me, Gooseman. Welcome. Thanks for that raid. Welcome, everyone. Greetings, raiders. Our stream just turned blue. Greetings, welcome. Hello, hello. Hello, raiders. Private, I can type. Application settings. Application settings. Alright. So here's what we're going to do. Connect to process is going to check this. It's going to say if we're not connected, try to connect. Greetings, Goose, man, honk honk. You know, so you've had the name Gooseman for a long time, and you've done that stuff. I actually have to ask because I don't know. Have you played the Untitled Goose Game on your stream yet? Because I know you do this stuff, but I don't know if you've actually tried that yet on stream. I mean, I'm sure you've played the game or at least seen the game. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Yeah. Oh, I assumed. I was like, you know, he had to have done this. You like. Because you actually will do some gaming streams, whereas I actually haven't done any gaming streams here on DevChatter, but I know that you do games sometimes. So welcome everybody from Gooseman's stream. We are technically sort of playing a game, kinda, sorta, kinda. There is a game running. See, Final Fantasy VII is running. There's a game. I can start it. We're currently in the middle of some refactoring, so we don't actually have the program running that lets you control this, but I could technically go grab another instance of it and run it, so you can see what we do. But like, we give chat like full control of the menus and status of the characters and everything, their names, their equipment, everything like that inside of Final Fantasy VII while a streamer is actually playing it. So it's kind of fun. I'd have to say it that way because we have some people that are currently beta testing this on their streams, and I say kind of fun only because when you give chat control of your status effects and chat shows up and they're like, oh, you mean you want to get poisoned and put to sleep and have your characters confused and petrified and slowed down. It's one of those, like, it becomes almost a challenge run because Twitch chat doesn't want to help you. Raiders and Gooseman, what were you all working on over on your stream? Tudor, thank you for that follow. Yeah, Renee, exactly. Testing purposes only. Yeah, that's just testing it. We're not intentionally trying to, smash you up. And Major Thorn, thank you also. Welcome Goose Raiders. Thank you for those follows, much appreciated. Glad to have you here. Okay, so connect to process. I think we're going to remove this. We're not going to ask for the process anymore. So I know I just added that, but we're not going to ask for it. We're just going to say process connection. We're going to say confirm process connection. I like that name a lot better. OBS WebSocket integration. Oh, nice. Oh, that is also fun. That's the hilarity of a lot of our. Sorry, see your code. The program's not running right now. We are working on that program. For anybody that watches any live coding streams, you'll find that we all do a lot of OBS integrations as well as connections. We do a lot of chat interactivity stuff because, well, I mean that's fun stuff to program while you're on a stream. Guard against chat forcing a game over might be nice to have. No, Mr. Shoji. So those are all actually settings in there. You can actually get full petrified if you want. I recommend to streamers that if they want to allow chat to force a game over, that they make sure the statuses that will cause that are very expensive. The people that are currently testing this are having a little bit of fun with that, but yes, you are correct. Chat can just decide to game over you, and that's why I recommend you make it expensive if they want to do that. So one of our beta testers, I forget how many times they had to do the staircase in Shinra Tower where you run up the top of the stairs, and the funny thing being the two people that were doing this, they were streaming at the same time and doing a race, and so because chat was able to cause these status effects and basically kill them all the time, they were doing everything they could to avoid battles. So things like running up the stairs in the Shinra Tower, and then they would get up at the top, get into a battle, and chat would just kill them, and they'd have to run up the stairs again. But they knew if they didn't run up the stairs, we would have so many opportunities to kill them along the way, because they'd get in other battles. So it was quite fun. I was there for that. It was good. Okay, so we want to confirm the process connection. So we're not going to check for the process. What we're going to do is we're going to say if it is null, or if the target process has exited, or our handle is 0. So if any of these cases is true, which actually, I just wrote this one this way a minute ago. I could say, if has exit equals true or true. Whoops. What did I do? Up or down? I think that's going to confuse people. I think it's going to be clearer written like this. Okay, so we'll just say or has exited. If it's null or it has exited or that, target process needs to be let's go. So I wrote a little thing that did a bit of work that was for connecting processes. So the process connector, so the memory reader needs one of those. Actually, might be the right answer. So let's actually do this instead. So we're going to actually give the native memory reader this instead of what I was planning on doing, which it's almost the same thing. Where was its constructor? It was up here. You know what? This is just... Sorry, Shoji. You can yell at me later about that. Too many regions. It's just getting me. So we're going to have a process connector here, which we're going to have right there. And we are just going to say... make a new connection to the FF7 process. They're put in by CodeMade. Okay, so you have a thing that just does it. That explains it. I was like, oh man, I never do that. Fast Turtle, yes. There definitely is a process could have disconnected before you had time to read it. So if we're in the middle of that, we're not terribly worried about it. That's what we've got a try-catch block for, and we'll just try again when it's reconnected. So if you're in the middle of it and you close if your game program closes while you're running, essentially what we want to have happen is we might just log an exception that happened, and we'll just move on and won't worry about it. And then hopefully it'll just keep trying to reconnect until you start your game again. And then when it does, hopefully it'll just connect right back in and keep running. And yes, if you happen to kill the game during that time, yeah. But that's what a try catch is for. I'm not terribly worried about handling it because this is just a monitoring system essentially. So we don't need to get into those details. So that's one of the other things that I will point out to a lot of people in programming is consider what you're writing. Sometimes you really do just want it to try catch and just move on because the result of it didn't really matter. Because a failure and a no information, just continue on. It's pretty much the same for us. So process is null, has exited. Then yeah, set up a new process and return it. That will be fine for us. Because we would consider the same thing. So those are attempts to connect to the defaults, but we try whatever they had as the name first. Okay, so a process connector should be fine, so we'll set that up. And what do we want to do? You know what? We're setting it. I'm going to do this and just take those, and that was only one call to that. And we're not doing that anymore, so that is actually just going to go away. Simplify. Where is it? Okay. So we don't need to set that to nothing anymore. We'll just set it to that and then check to see if it's still null after that, then we'll yell about that problem. We need the logger though. I definitely want to have a logger in here. iLogger of type native memory reader. We want to log those errors if there is one. Whoops. Log error E, and the message to go along with this is error connecting to FF7 process. And it will actually put in the, you know, the stack trace and everything like that in there, so... Alright, so we do that. So we only want to come in here and run that if that happens. And as long as there was no exception, we return true and continue on. And if it fails to connect the process, that's when we throw an exception. So yeah, that will handle correctly. That'll return. We'll get back here. We will not do that. We'll return back a null. This is only called from 4 places, which are right in here. And then these spots should run like that. And then if we ever get back a null, we return. And this, I don't think we want to search for a process anymore. I think we just want to continue on. And we should be connecting when we need to connect and only when we need to connect. Where's my build error? What is my build error? Yep, I don't need that anymore. Native memory reader equals this. We can just get that at the constructor, can't we? You know what? Before I get rid of that line, you go up here. Where is my constructor? Should be right up at the top. Yeah, that's more things in here than I actually want to have, but we need to fix this thing. We need to get this. So essentially, I want to change the way this program works. I want to get this set up so that instead of being just this run like this, I want it to be. I want this all to be mediator triggered. So we're actually going to change the structure of this at some point. So that we're not just one program running everything. I want this all to be triggered in another way. You know what? We're going to call that memory reader, and we are going to auto property wire up the memory reader. Which, why is that capsed? Because that is a field instead of property. We're going to make it a read-only field, like the other ones that are here. So we're going to make this a private read-only field, even though that means we don't get the nice way of seeing the references to it. I want it to be clear that that is definitely only in here and set from the constructor. So as a private read-only field, it is absolutely coming in just like that, and nice and obvious. Okay, let's find out, does it work at all, or does it just throw exceptions? Hopefully we've resolved all of these exceptions. Hey, Crimson Green, welcome back. That's not good. I think we're caught in a loop. We're just going to drop a handful of breakpoints at known places where we might be catching them. What's it doing? Guess I don't need that anymore either, because we got rid of that. We'll drop a breakpoint here. I'm not even sure how far in we're getting at all. Nope, we're not even hitting this. I wonder, I bet that we are, I bet that it doesn't know how to wire this up. Yep, type wasn't there. I'm willing to bet that was the error. That it did not know how to wire that up. Yep, there it is. Alright, cool. So it just didn't know how to wire up the new dependency that I'd added in. So we'll connect the program. Which does mean now, chat, that you have access to this. What is this? I think we're caught in a loop. Did you do a GitHub for Windows Pluralsight course? Crimson, yes, that is indeed my my Pluralsight course. I did it a bunch of years ago. It's a good course, still fairly applicable today. And I think, oh yeah, you could rename him Chatter, but you're gonna want to go higher than 10. There you go. So his name should be Chatter now. Let's see. There you go. DevChatter rules. Oh yeah. Look at how cool that is. Oh man. And the neat part is, it's over on that overlay too, which has been running the whole time. I bet you didn't know that was running the whole time. So that is actually connected. So what's interesting about that is that web page has actually been sitting there the whole time, and as soon as this program, like we started it back up again, the web page automatically reconnected, noticed that it was there again, and started updating all those values. We did not have to refresh or anything like that. Mr. Shoji was going for the popper command, which if you watch, we're about to have 2 gil. So the popper command will in fact remove all of your items, all of your weapons, all of your armor, set you back to all the default values, and leave you with 2 gil. So it is the meanest command in the program. I think the default settings, so if you just download this program and run it, it has I think it's set to cost like $200 or something like that. So you have to really want to just mess with someone to do that. It's just a mean command. I expect that someone will turn that price down if they're actually planning on using it, but entirely up to the streamer what they want to do. Yeah, I'm not sure if my other bot is running over there, Janiscu. So I will give it a quick restart, and we'll see what happens with it. Did it reconnect? I didn't actually look. There you go. And turn us back to default menu colors. Now here's the question. So this is connected and definitely is getting us, it definitely is working because I can make changes to things and we see it over there. So it's hard, I mean it's kind of hard to tell with me doing this, but you can see that it really is updating everything. Right. Definitely working. You can see all the changes happening. Now let's kill this process and see what happens. Okay, so that program clearly just shut down there. Alright, so we're gonna jump back into the game. We're gonna see, does it figure it out? Does it reconnect with a new process or not? Ooh, it might not be reconnecting yet. I don't know how long before that reconnects. That's bad. Because it looks like that was maybe already there. Yeah. So it's connected, but we're not getting updated status info. So I think that means it did not reconnect correctly. So it says has exited. Oh, I know what happened. I know why it's not reconnecting. This process, we're not setting it anymore, so that's why. This might have might have disconnected, but but that doesn't matter anymore. Because we no longer really use that. We have to do this. If it is null, or is it... Wait, or it has exited. Get the process. Get process by name. Or do that. If it's null or it has exited, come in here and do that, right? Hang on. Yeah, but this should attempt it, doesn't it? Hang on. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do the same thing again. Only I'm gonna drop into the breakpoint this time. Oh, you're. I think you're right. Hang on. Yeah, I said only get this if it's null. But we came in here and we should return this regardless, because we already know it's because this. It needs the same safety, which this worked before because we weren't doing a secondary check. So you're right. We need to switch it from that to this, and then we say if it is null. Then set the value to a new one and return. You are correct. Good catch. That was the problem. Yep. Because that value would not fix it if in this case it would not get the has exited case, and that's what we needed to solve. All right, chat. We're connected again, so you can run your commands again if you like. Refresh. There we go. Oh, Crimson triggered a rainbow, so that's actually just gonna go, I think. Unless... Oh, no, he did menu rainbow, so he did not actually do a rainbow. Rainbow is its own command. But either way, those appear to currently be connected. Let's go ahead and do an order change. Yep, okay. So those are connected. I will kill the process and start it again. Okay, let's remove that breakpoint. So we're going to reload the game, and hey look, those characters rearranged as soon as we got back in here. So it is reconnecting successfully now. Awesome. Okay. So that is actually much better. So we are getting that rearrange, and we should also, yeah, there you go. There's the rainbow command. That should also have resolved a couple of the exceptions we were throwing. We should no longer be having issues with, like, the process isn't there, and it just throws an exception every, you know... I forget how frequently it's looking. It's like every 100 milliseconds or something like that for updates. What's the timer set to? Is it once a second? Is it once every 2 seconds? I forget what it is. Sang would probably know. Or Shoji would know. Where's the timer? Yeah. There we go. Oh, right. Memory read interval in milliseconds, which defaults to every half second. Okay. You'd know what that default value was in milliseconds, so it's every half millisecond. Yeah. So twice every second, it would log an exception if Final Fantasy VII had been closed while you were still running that program. So kind of an issue. But that's good. That should be better. What is it? Native memory reader? Okay. This one needs that as well. Okay, so those are up there. So we changed how that works. We'll still need to do some cleanup after my changes here, but it should, you know, throw fewer exceptions while it's running now. If the game disappears while it's going, because the challenge it used to have is it would connect, and that if you close the program, it would fail. Okay, so alright, let's create a new branch. This will be sing memory access, because there's still other stuff I want to create related to that, but this works. So bring my changes along, please. Alright, publish that to GitHub. Okay. Nice. I am happy with how that worked. That was good. I just noticed someone followed and I didn't mention it. Nayrooks, if you're still here, thank you very much for that follow. Just noticed it. I don't know how I didn't notice it when you did it. I must just have tuned out the thing that mentioned it. Okay. Dunk. Let's see. Okay, well, I want to make sure that we do a couple of things. So first off, I want to make sure that I thank everybody for hanging out with me today. I am going to wrap up the stream here, but before you go, please don't leave yet. I have a couple of things that I do want to mention. First off, we are going to go raid over to another stream, so I'm hoping you all stick around for that, so we can go over and say hi. You don't have to stick around for a stream or anything like that, but I do hope that you stick around long enough to at least be on the raid. I wouldn't go to a raid. I would not raid a stream that I didn't think highly of. That's actually why you'll notice I don't raid every single stream. So that's because I want to make sure there's someone we're going to that is interesting that I want to tell you about, and is another good streamer out there. So that is what we're going to do. In addition to that, I do want to make sure that I roll our credits and tell people about our future streams. So if you haven't yet, do be sure to click the follow button, as that is the best way to get notified when we go live here on the stream. Most of our streams are going to be on Saturdays. We did a Sunday stream today because I was busy yesterday. And I'm going to toss a bunch of links over in the chat to relevant stuff. That's our Discord, our GitHub, and our YouTube. You can find most of the code that we do here on the stream is out on GitHub, so feel free to check that stuff out. Our Discord actually is a very nice community of developers, so if you do want to just chat about programming stuff, that's a good place to do it. In addition, there are recordings of all of our episodes over on YouTube. Red John, thank you for that follow. And our YouTube is broken out into playlists, so you can actually find the one on Interactive 7 and just watch the Interactive 7 stuff if you want to see that, or any of our other various things that we have done. So I'm going to cue that. However, I am going to roll our credits, because I do want to make sure that I thank everybody for all of the awesome stuff today. So I want to make sure that I thank our moderators, Crimson Green and S&B. Thank you for hanging out and helping out with the stream here today, and Strife, thank you as well. I want to make sure that I thank all these wonderful people that followed us today. There's going to be a nice big list of people that followed the stream. Thank you to all of you for clicking that button. It really is the best way to get notified. As I said, we stream on Saturdays usually, but if you want to make sure you don't miss a stream, that's the best way to do it. And then I want to make sure that I thank Strife and Silverlight for resubbing and subbing. Yes, we're going to raid the Michael Jolly. I'm going to put us on the outro screen, but then we're going to raid over I'll Go With You. So take care, have a great rest of your weekend, and happy coding, everyone.